If you've been paying attention to the US job market, you might have noticed an increase in unemployment or have heard people stressing about how hard it is to find a job. Conversations about the job market and the availability of stable, quality jobs always seems to be one of the main topics that people are concerned about. And if you're in the workforce or if you're part of the workforce, at some point, you or someone you know may find yourself in a situation where you have to pivot in your career. It can be an involuntary pivot like a layoff or a shutdown, or a voluntary one where you're looking for a new job or figuring out your next career move. Whether you or someone you know has experienced a layoff or a pending career change, many of us are trying to find clarity in this space. So today, I'm speaking with a very special guest who's going to talk to us about how to navigate a career pivot and what we can do to move through the transition more easily. She'll share her pivot story and talk to us about how she managed that change to come out on the other side even better. So today's guest is Kristina Butler. Kristina is a talent acquisition and workforce strategy leader. She's a career clarity coach and the founder of Virtual Six Figure Mom. She has over 15 years of experience in corporate HR and recruiting, and she specializes in helping mid career women, especially Black women, get clear, get paid, and take control of their careers. Kristina knows firsthand what it means to pivot with purpose in the messy middle after navigating multiple layoffs, workplace transitions, and motherhood, all while building her coaching practice and her coaching business. Now she's teaching other women how to confidently navigate career changes, land high paying remote roles, and stop shrinking to fit environments that were never designed for their growth. Wow, that is super impressive. Christina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. So happy.
I'm so happy to have you. I know that we've been talking about having this conversation for a little while. Let's just jump right in. I want to know what you think is the biggest fear right now around a career pivot or a transition.
The lack of job market stability, if I could say that. And I mean, we talk about the job market as trash, right? Or job market is tough. I'm trying to think of a time in the past, however many years, where it really hasn't been tough for some people, especially if you're talking about a career change into a field that you're not accustomed to or you don't have deep experience in. I think any market is going to be tough for a career pivot. So the biggest concern that I'm hearing these days is now the time. Maybe I should stay on my safe job and not make the move that's on my mind to make.
So, what do you think is the biggest challenge in that? So, when people are trying to decide whether it's a good time or not a good time, what do you think are some of the main things that they should consider before making that move?
First, be honest with yourself, right? I think some people are afraid to say what they really want and afraid to pursue it because it's the unknown, because it's different, because maybe it doesn't align with the past 10, 15 years of experience they've had. The honest conversation is what I'd say should come first. Then you need to look at your finances, right? And determine if you can take a pay cut, if at all, because it may or may not be required if you decide to step away from your current role, your current career, kind of how long can you float until you land something else? So there's so many pieces, right? The honest conversation with yourself, but then also the okay, how much money do I have? Can I take a pay cut? And then what does my network look like? Who's going to help me, make this pivot into the next field? I know that's a lot and I could probably keep going, but we'll probably just stick with those three for now.
It sounds like you're talking about changing careers altogether. What about if you wanted to stay within the same career, but maybe you're looking just for something different or something that's more in alignment with maybe your goals long term? What do you suggest for something like that?
Yeah. So a couple of things, and it kind of depends on the relationship that you have with your current manager or leader, because you may be able to have that honest conversation with them and say, hey, this is what I'd like to do. I can think of a couple of examples in my career where I've had that conversation and it's worked out well. One was a conversation with the leader I had in a financial services organization. At the time, I was in sales and relationship management. I had my Series 6 and Series 63. And I said, I really want to go back to a focus on HR and not sales and relationship management. I mean, this is fun, but it's not what I want. I'll tell you that story real quick. It ended up in a way that that conversation happened shortly before the market crashed and half of our team was laid off. And so I remember the conversation with him. It was very interesting because he said, "I hope you see the silver lining in this." And I was like, "Yes, I'm gone." Like, yeah, it just worked out. Another leader I told her, this whole coming into this office, I can't keep doing it, right? My dad is not doing well. I had the very honest conversation with her that I need to move. I'd love to stay if you would allow me to work remotely, but I do need to relocate. She referred me to someone else. I found my first remote job. So being open and honest when you can with your current manager or leader, I think is super helpful. And then your network. I talk about it all the time. And I think that word network may be getting a bit of a bad rap at this point, right? So people are thinking, oh, I got to put on the suit and grab the copies of my resume or go to this event. And it's like, no, my networking happens on this phone and I'm texting the friend or I'm voice noting the friend and I'm like, I think it's time for me to start looking for someone else. And when I say the friend, it's typically the quote coworker or former colleague who knows my work ethic, who knows my personality, who knows how hard I work and the value I add to an organization. That's my network. I don't have to put on a show and perform. So again, I could keep going. You know, I have deep experience in all this. Stop
Yeah.
me, Sharana, stop me.
No, I want you to keep going because I think it's important. So something that you touched on, the networking. Networking, I know is a challenge for a lot of people. And I know even for me personally, even the word is like,
Yeah.
I do believe in building relationships. I promote that a lot. I talk about building relationships. I talk about connection. Maybe you can share with us a little bit how you believe or how you move through networking or how you do that and maybe the importance of that. And then also maybe talk to us a little bit about your career transition or your pivot and why you are now saying that you're in this space and wanting to help other women as well move through that.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you about networking and then my pivot. My networking. So about 75% of the jobs that I've held. And I'm one of those people who, longest job I've had may have been 4 years. I don't sit in one place for very long. I haven't had to. I've been fortunate enough to be able to make the move after being with an organization for a year. If I realize it's not aligned and something else, it better comes along. So when it comes to better coming along, that better coming along typically comes from my natural network, people I've worked with before. Again, 75% of the jobs I've had. Out of that 75%, I can think of at least three that have come from someone I've known, roles that were not posted. Okay, so we talk about this hidden job market, roles that were not posted, or by the time they were posted, I was already the person identified to fill the spot. You want to find these roles before they're posted. In order to do so, especially in this market, in order to do so, you have to have those relationships. You have to stay in touch with people. People have to know you're looking. People have to know what you do and what you do well. People have to know your strengths, what you're passionate about, your interests in, your goals, all of that. That's part of the relationship building slash professional networking. And I'm not just talking about telling everyone or changing your LinkedIn profile to open to work. I mean, there's an effort that's required to maintain these relationships. So for someone who's thinking it's a negative word, it's like, grab your phone. What five people in there can you think of today who should know that you're looking? Check on them, see how they're doing, ask for a catch up call with coffee, tea, whatever it is, and nurture the network. Over a period of time, it will return tenfold, right? Like you will get that return on that investment of time and effort. So that's my thought on networking and how it's worked for me. In terms of my pivot, I've made a couple of pivots in my career. I talked about the financial services to HR one. I'll even kind of expose another layer to that. I mentioned having the conversation with the leader, and then I mentioned the layoff. So by the time my severance was done, I had already started my next role that came from someone in my network who knew I was looking, who knew the market was crashing, who knew I wanted to leap back into HR. I had already started working on my PHR as well. So when we talk about pivots, it's positioning yourself to compete for these roles you don't have deep work experience in, but you have an interest in. One way to position yourself is getting additional certifications, licenses, designations. I'm a huge fan of that. I have my PHR and my SHRM CP. Back in the day, I had my Series 6 and Series 63. So I'm a huge fan of that very tailored and structured and specific. Focus on the work that you're interested in. If you don't want to sit for one of these designations in your field, consider LinkedIn Learning or, a space where you get Coursera. Like grab some of these courses that are free or low cost and start adding those to your LinkedIn profile, adding them to your resume. I think that's one way to ensure a really successful pivot, especially in a competitive market. So I hope that helps. Again, Sharon, I could keep going.
No, I like to keep going because I feel like you have the expertise, and I know that this is a very important topic. A lot of people right now are struggling. They're looking for jobs or they're not happy with the current situation that they're in. They may feel like an impending layoff coming, or they may be looking to transition to into something completely different. So it's important for people to understand that it sounds like what you're saying is you're not looking for a job when you need to find a job. You're setting up the foundation so that you are already in position for that next position or for the next opportunity. That's what I hear you saying. It's nurturing the relationships, it's reaching out to people, it's checking in, it's letting people know where you are and how you're feeling about everything that's going on career wise.
Yep, for sure. And even beyond career wise, I think of some of the individuals that have connected me to opportunities, posted or otherwise. These are people I've known for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. It sort of varies. But we connected on a personal level, right? Like, it's not just to let me show this person my resume and see if they can help me during my time of need, during my time of transition. It is, how are you? How's the family? How are the kids doing? How are you doing? How is work for you? Like, genuinely, and these aren't forced relationships for the purpose of finding a role. These are genuine relationships that I've nurtured over time. I think we all have to be mindful of, we say the company we keep, right? Our circles. Who in our circle is a connector? Who in our circle is going to challenge us or nudge us to do something that maybe feels a little bit uncomfortable or consider a path that maybe we haven't considered in the past? Be mindful of the company you keep, not just for the purposes of the next step in your career, generally speaking, especially at this point in my career, at this point in my life. I'm in what some may consider midlife, right? It's important to me to have really good, solid people around me. Now, yes, I have the friends who will cut up and we ride at dawn for whatever reason, right? But aside
Always
from
gotta
that,
write. You always be friends that are gonna write out, okay? We're doing drive-bys.
yeah, okay, I have a good friend, and every time there's been a breakup, and we've known each other for 20 something years, every time there's a breakup, "Okay, are we wearing all black today? Like, is a funeral for this person today?" Or, like, we can have multiple funerals for the same like, that's what we all need those types of people in our circle, but also the people who maybe challenge us in the way we think a little bit. That's also super important, and you mentioned pending layoffs. Some people, I hope, I hope it is now, July 2025. We have this current administration. My hope is that everyone in a corporate job, federal job, whatever it is, nonprofit, is thinking, I could very well be out of a job tomorrow. Okay. I just had a conversation with a member of a school board. $8.1 million in funding cut. So, how does that translate into staff? People are going to continue to lose jobs. And so, gone are the days of thinking that you're in this safe job and hopefully I won't get laid off. I've been here for so long, or I do such a good job. None of it matters. I want people, especially now more so than ever, to start thinking about what that next chapter, that next step could look like and stay ready, as they say, so you don't have to get ready.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, there's so many things you touched upon. The keeping in touch with people or building those relationships. I'm going to keep harping on that as well because I think it is important. And I've been saying life and business are so interconnected now more than ever. So it's not just like this is my career, this is my job, and this is my personal life. It's all intertwined. And I do believe that the company you keep, the people that are in your circle, the relationships that you build, Actually, for me, it's more about the personal connection versus the job because if people like you, they know you, they're going to look out for you. And just keeping those relationships warm or however you want to say it, it's sort of like you don't reach out when you need it. It's like staying ready. And the other thing is that you touched upon was not the security of jobs. There is no such thing as job security at this point. There is no such thing. Even the government has shut down. So we have to take responsibility for our lives, for our careers, for the things that we want to do, and really start being more proactive in our careers and in our jobs and not being passive about it. That's one thing I've noticed. So what do you think is something that people can pay attention to when it comes to a pivot? What can you do to prepare? I know you mentioned certifications, you mentioned having that conversation maybe with your a manager or supervisor. Let's just say you have decided that this is what I'm going to do, or I no longer want to do this thing. I no longer want to be in this field. So, what can we do to prepare for that pivot?
Start your research. One thing I did when I pivoted out of sales and relationship management into HR was I started talking to people who were in the roles that I wanted or that I had an interest in. Start that research. Start looking at your Glassdoor or any number of these websites that give you salary ranges. The more information and knowledge you have about your desired next step, your desired next field, the better prepared you will be to compete for those roles, to negotiate the salary. I remember when I stepped out of sales and relationship management, I didn't have a lot of HR experience. I was able to communicate the HR experience I did have. And I even went back to my, many years prior HR experience. All of it was this thread, right? Have I been training people over the course of time? Yes. Start thinking about those transferable skills again so you can compete. Where I was going with that was I did not take a pay cut. As a matter of fact, I got a pay increase when I pivoted from one field to the next. I want people to stop counting themselves out or stop limiting the possibilities of expansion and abundance. If you want more, be ready to have the conversation so that you can ask for more and clearly articulate why you deserve to not take a pay cut and actually earn more income. It's possible. I think that's the other thing I would say. And part of this comes from the circle, right? The confidence piece will keep you stuck every time. The confidence piece, if you lack confidence in any pivot, you're gonna move slower, you're gonna move kinda like, "I don't know if I can do this." You're going to overthink it. You're going to say, "Okay, wait, Christina said I need designations. Let me get 10 first, and then maybe I'll be ready." Or, "Let me have Christina update my resume, and then I'll be ready." It's like, "Uh, uh, uh, update it to do what?" Right? Tell me why you're ready for this pivot. What is it that's going to position you to compete with people who may have been in the industry for quite some time? So, research. A lot of research went into my most recent pivot for sure. Ooh, conversations online, what are the different roles in that field? What do I feel like I'm best positioned for and can do well in? There are people who say, Christina, I want to get into HR. HR is broad. What do you want to do within HR? Let's get specific. And then I want you to start looking at roles in that specific space that you have an interest in. Then let's look at the compensation and let's go on LinkedIn and see who's in the role that maybe you're connected to or a second degree connection and say, you know what, let me call this person, let me message this person, get a feel for not hook me up with a job because I'm ready to pivot, but talk to me about your specific career path. What did that look like for you?
Sounds like what you're describing is being intentional. It's all preparation. There are steps because we only focus on the getting a job part, but there's so many other steps that have to be in place in order for you to land the job that you really want. So it sounds like what you're talking about is being prepared for something that you are intentionally going after or something that you're sure about. What would you say for someone who is in that situation where they've been involuntarily let go? They find themselves in a situation where they've lost their jobs and now they're not sure what to do. What would you recommend their first steps be? Is it
Yeah.
the same or something different?
I'd always say do something. And I say this as someone who has built these, what we call relauncher, career relauncher programs. I did it for a former employer where you've been out of the market for whatever period of time and you're looking to get back and either pivot to a different space or back into the field you were in before. But what I want you to do is do something. If you find yourself unemployed, do not just look for a job, especially if you want to pivot. Do something in terms of volunteering. And volunteering doesn't have to cost money. You can volunteer online. I'm pretty sure if someone reached out to you today to say, listen, I want to gain some social media management skills. Can I volunteer and help you manage your social media, right? Or whomever. There are plenty of entrepreneurs who would love to bring someone on board to say they want to gain some skills in this specific area. So do something, volunteer, do something in the community, do something, take a course or two. I've told people about this real estate photography course I took on LinkedIn Learning. Why? I used to be a realtor. So this was many years ago. During the pivot, I decided to try real estate. I loved HGTV, right? It's what it is. I took a random course. Someone think it's random, but it's one of those things where if I decided after taking that course that I wanted to keep going, at least I'd have this course on my LinkedIn profile associated with specific skills. So if a recruiter were looking for someone, they could find me. I'm going to add it to my resume if it's something I'm interested in. Dabble in this, dabble in that, but keep some sort of forward movement. And I'm going to say this again as someone who has been in a volatile industry for decades, right? My first job in financial services was like 99. Okay. Dating myself. Layoffs happen, mergers and acquisitions. So they're going to be layoffs. Please don't think you're immune to it. It's going to likely happen. I think one field that may be a little safer than others might be healthcare, right? But either way, it's going to happen. That said, position yourself for the move just in case. If you don't know what you want to do, start taking some assessments. Get on a call with someone, reach out to me, find the connection. There's so much information out there these days. So many, I was going to say experts.
Mhm.
And then I hesitated.
And I know why you did, but go ahead. I'll let you
Okay.
continue.
There are several sources of information, some valid. You just need to figure out what makes the most sense. If it smells off, then don't pursue it. But there are ways to gather additional information. The honest conversation, start the research, start looking, start asking questions. Don't just do nothing if you've been laid off. Do something. And there are so many options to keep that forward movement going.
And you mentioned research. So, just for those who may not know where to start, what would you recommend would be the first place they would start looking or try to get information that is legitimate? Because, like you said, there are lots of experts, right, that maybe aren't necessarily experts or they don't have experience, or maybe they're not as savvy giving out information. So, what would you recommend are some reputable sources for research?
Great question. Well, it depends on a couple of things. So you could also, of course, have a conversation with a career coach. But I think if we're talking about independent research, for me, being an HR expert, and I say that with my full chest, an HR expert, dual certified, one of the places you would start would be a SHRM or HRCI. Find those bodies of research and information and experts and plug into those. So if you were interested in accounting, you want to go to who's the body that certifies CPAs? What does their website look like? Start there. Who are the top employers in this specific space? So for me, when I wanted to go deeper into financial services and start training, okay, what organizations in my area or otherwise are hiring people for the types of roles I'm interested in? Let me just start getting into their website. Let me go to their LinkedIn profile. That sort of research. Gone are the days of Dewey Decimal System research, Britannica and World Book Encyclopedia research. Now we have research at our fingertips. There are some experts that you can go to. So let me say this, like a Melody Hobson, if you are looking in the financial services space, like start listening to the language she uses, look at her podcasts, things like that. There are true experts in some of these fields Connect with them, and that's free. That's free. You don't have to schedule a phone call. You don't have to pay. Go to their website, go to their podcast, whatever it is. There's so many ways to get information. You just want to make sure that the person you're receiving the guidance from or the people you're receiving it from are true experts in the field and not just experts with one employer, right? Because you want to be as well rounded as possible. Unless you just want to work for this one employer, go to multiple. And here's why I say this. Having been in financial services as long as I have been, I know that different organizations do things differently. I've worked for a number of them. And this is just going to be an example. Let's say you want to get into financial services, HR, whatever. You can look at Wells Fargo, their LinkedIn page, their website. You can start connecting with people there, all that fun stuff. But I guarantee you, and this is someone who has worked for, again, many of these people, their flow, their process, their systems, their people, their culture will look very different from, let's say, a B of A or a TIAA or an AXA. I've worked for several of these folks. I know it's all very different. That's part of the research, right? If you're going to ask someone about the industry, make sure they didn't just spend 40 years with B of A because that's all they know. Their exposure is limited. Find people who have deep roots in multiple spaces because you can get that most well rounded picture.
That makes a lot of sense. For somebody who is in the job market right now, or they've maybe been looking for a really long time, say they have their credentials, they have really great experience, they've done their research, but they're still having a hard time landing that job. What would you recommend, or what are some things that you would say to that person?
I may or may not hold their hand when I say this. And I see some of these posts on social media. Let's say it's been 2 years. Why has it taken you 2 years? No interview in 2 years? What's your job application volume like? What's your networking like? Before we even jump to the resume, I mean, sometimes people are quick to say, Christina, I've applied for 7,000 jobs. It's got to be my resume because I haven't gotten an interview. And I'm going to say, well, I'm not even going to look at your resume. What do you want to do? And out of those 7,000 positions you've applied to, how many of those did you actually want? How many of those did you actually put effort and energy into ensuring that you presented your best self on that piece of paper? Did you put any effort and energy into networking with recruiters or hiring leaders at this organization? Again, a lot of this information is available on LinkedIn. What has this effort been like? Or are you just saying, Christina, I've blindly applied to all these jobs? Let's provide a little bit more clarity and structure around your search. Tell me the 3 to 5 roles that you want. Let's get real clear. What do you want to do? And if you don't know what you want to do, I will tell people this all the time. When it comes to energy, that lack of clarity and uncertainty shows up. It shows up in the way you write your resume because that professional summary you have at the top couldn't possibly be aligned with anything if you don't know what you want to do. Are you talking about your plumbing experience and your electrical experience and your experience as a teacher? I've seen some of these very scattered professional summaries. Let's get clear on what you want to do. Let's get clear on the requirements for those jobs. Where are the gaps? If that job that you want typically requires 10 plus years, do you have the 10 plus years? Do you have 5 years? If you have 5 years, I'm not saying don't apply, but think about how, as you wait, you can gain additional experience. If they want someone with 10 years of marketing, how about you call up one of these small business owners and say, can I market for you from home while I continue to build out my experience because it's required? So I think what's missing in some of these cases for some of these long-term job searches is a lack of clarity, a lack of confidence. Listen, if you've been looking for a job for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, of course you're going to start to lack confidence. But I want you to say, okay, what can I control? I'm having a tough time, but what in all of this can I control? Complaining about the process? Probably not going to help. Complaining about being ghosted? Probably not going to help. What can you do each and every day to get closer to your goal? Having the conversations, picking up the phone, calling the friend who knows the friend who can get you an interview. One of the things I think we're still missing for some reason, and I mentioned this earlier about landing opportunities that aren't posted. So, my focus over the past 15 years has been in the remote space, working remotely. Some people want to get out of the house, but very many people want to work from home now that they've had a taste of it because of the shutdown. Those jobs are super competitive. I have worked remotely for 15 years for several companies. That connection came from a friend, came from a former coworker. It's like, "Hey, Christine, I know we're getting ready to post this job. What are your thoughts? Are you looking now?" That's what I need us to do more of. You want to get the job before it's posted. You want to be part of the organization's talent community if they have one. Make sure you're part of it. Because one thing I will say, and people are often shocked when I say this, even as a recruiter, you don't necessarily want to have to look at 700 resumes. We don't want to have to go through this process. If we know someone who's been vetted, highly recommended, oh, and they're going to like fall within our pay, like, oh, this is easy. Let's post it for the required 3 business days if it has to be. Some organizations do have that. And let's pull it down and keep it moving. So you want to find out about the job before it's posted. Best way to do that is through your network.
I have a quick question about that.
Yeah.
So, you think that most jobs that are posted from your perspective in HR, have they already been filled? Because I know a lot of times people feel as though they are submitting their resumes into black holes or they're going off into never never land and they're not getting any type of response. So, what are your thoughts on that? Or what would you say to somebody who thinks that?
Answer is no. I would say most jobs have not been filled. And that actually depends. So I'm going to lean on the words of my HR law professor from grad school. And everything was it depends. It depends on the field, it depends on the type of role. So if you are looking to be an environmental scientist, I've hired for that position a couple of times at a couple of different organizations. There's a good chance that that position is going to be posted longer, especially if, let's say, it's in Burlington, Vermont. Maybe the talent pool isn't so deep. So all of that depends. All of it depends. When we know that we have a difficult to fill position, we're likely going to try to get in front of it and start asking people, who do you know? Who do you know who might be interested in this role, in this location? We may or may not find people. Some of these more difficult to fill positions, no, haven't been filled already. Some of these, let's say a customer service position, they're going to be 7 million applicants for it. Low barrier to entry. You want to get in with the organization, the hiring team before it's ever posted. Because by the time it sees the light of day, there are going to be a ton of individuals applying for it, especially if it's remote. So, no, I wouldn't say that most of them have been posted. I mean, I think about the jobs I've posted recently, we didn't have anyone in mind. We eventually got a couple of people who were referred. I mean, we're talking about very specific roles in very specific locations. So it kind of depends. I don't want people to get accustomed to saying there are all these ghost jobs out there or nobody's really hiring. They're all fake jobs. How is it that the job was posted today and pulled down tomorrow? Like, stop. What can you focus your energy on? Right? Shift your focus to that. Shift your focus to what you can control. Shift your focus and your attention to documenting your job search. Pull out the Excel spreadsheet. Who did you apply at where? What role? What's the link? What's the compensation? Did you follow up with anybody? Did you connect with any recruiters online? There's so much information available to help you move forward. It's not going to always work. Every recruiter is not going to respond to you. Every organization is not going to actually decline you. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
Shift your focus to what you can control.
It sounds to me like everything that you're saying, it all leads back to you, the person. It's like you have to take responsibility for your life, for your job, for your career. It's not a passive, hope it works out. I'm just going to throw my hook in the water and hope something bites. It's more of you being proactive and taking the initiative. I always say looking for a job is actually a job. Like you have to put the same effort and energy into doing that. So, in all the things that we've talked about today, Christina, I'm just curious as to what inspired you to coach women around career clarity and how to find jobs that are aligned with them and the things that they want to do.
I've been coaching for years, if I'm being honest. So, true story. I had my first job at 13. I went to boarding school, and that's a whole other story. I like the facts of life. I found these boarding schools. I got a book delivered to the house because before internet and all that fun stuff. And I told my mom and my dad, like, I want to go here. My brother is annoying. My brother and I are 9 years apart. Hey, love you, Travis. Uh, he was annoying, and I wanted to be out of the house. I found this school and went to boarding school, got my first job there. By the time I was done with high school, and that was 16, I had a full resume. I was a receptionist. I had been a telemarketer. I worked at the grocery store. Like I had some serious work experience. And people started to look to me probably around junior year. And they're like, how did you do this? How did you get this job? And I was like, "Well, this one's a volunteer job, and this is the one I work Monday through Friday, but I work like as a student." And so I was coaching people back then. Let's fast forward to starting this business, Virtual Six Figure Mom. My gosh, I cannot believe so much time has passed by. But it was a matter of me having a conversation with an amazing woman. Amanda Miller Littlejohn is her name. And I'm like, I'm going to help people write resumes. I'm going to do this. And we started talking about the fact that I worked remotely. And this was, again, before it was a thing, and how much you can earn working remotely. And that is where Virtual Six Figure Mom was born. She's like, people need to know that you can get a remote job that pays six figures and you can still balance whatever this life is that you have balance. I use it fluidly, but you can balance the life that you have and make money working from home. And that's how it started, sharing what I've learned, sharing what I've been through. And again, someone with deep roots in recruiting. So I'm on the other side of the table half the day, extending offers, negotiating offers, and having the depth of experience from multiple employers and then layer on the HR certifications. I was like, I feel like I can help people. And I'm like, oh, but wait, let me go get my master's in HR. So I did that, graduated in 2020 so I can further help. I'm like, I see things from multiple angles. It's not just from the seat of a recruiter who's been with the same organization for 10 years. And that's all I know. Like, I've been around the block, I've built the programs, and I've got the HR expertise. So when I'm talking to people, it's like, well, what can we legally say and what can we not legally say? I become the HR in the room, but I'm the fun HR who's going to help you get the job and keep it.
Well, what I really appreciate about you is that you're using and leveraging all your strengths. So this is like you said, at 13. I
Yeah.
mean, if you've been doing this since 13, you've been doing this your whole life. So it sounds like it's something that comes very natural to you or naturally to you. And I think that's important because I want people to understand that your natural gifts, skills, and abilities play a role in what you do because we're always constantly looking for the thing that's going to give us more money or we're trying to sustain ourselves, but we spend so much time at work. We spend more time at work and with the people at work than we do with our own friends and family. So you want to make sure you are doing something that fulfills you, that has purpose, that makes you feel like you want to get up every day. So I think tapping into that natural gift, maybe you didn't think about it at the time as a thing, but obviously it's a thing now, you know?
Sharonda,
Yeah.
listen, one of the first things I do for my intensive clients is make them complete a strengths finder assessment. My favorite leader, I talk about her often. That was one of the first, when the first 6 weeks of us being hired, we had to complete it. She wanted to know at our core who we were, right? And what value we'd add. And I think so many of the individuals I've worked with, so many amazing women, if I asked you what your strengths are, what's your top strength, you're like, well, like, you're right? Because you got to do the work on the front end to have a strategic and successful job search. You got to be able to articulate what value you bring to an organization. And I'm not just talking about what's on paper, right? So getting to know your top strengths is so important. And yes, this comes naturally to me, just
Yeah.
does.
Your strengths and the thing that you enjoy and you find fun. Because I'm really good at money and budgeting, but I don't want to help you with your spreadsheet. I don't want to do that, right? But it's also tapping into the parts of you that you actually enjoy and that you want to do that. I mean, a lot of times we say it shouldn't feel like work, but work is work. But it's you also want to enjoy what you're doing. You want to make sure you are in a space or in an environment that encourages you to be more you. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times when we're, I'm just going to say it, a lot of times when we're in these corporate spaces, we are shrinking down and we're trying to conform or to be something that we're not. And so we really do need to, especially as women, we need to be better about focusing on what we do well, what comes naturally to us, and what we enjoy doing as well. That's one of the things I wanted to point out. So you mentioned earlier in the conversation about relationships being significant to your success. And I completely agree with that. Connection and building genuine relationships to me are the gold of life. So I want you to tell everybody how we met
We met on Threads.
on Threads.
Who would have thunk it?
On Threads. I follow your post. I just liked your post and I was like, "Oh, I like this lady. I'm going to follow her." And I think you did the same. And I felt like I knew you, even though we've never met. I feel like this is the first time. No, this is maybe the second time we've been, like in virtual connection, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important. And like, even like this podcast, right? Like this episode came from a relationship, a connection.
Yeah. It did. There are a handful of people on Threads where I feel like, "Have we met? Were we separated at
Like, are
birth?"
we friends? I
Right?
think we're friends.
Like, where are you? Because, like, I feel like we must have, like, it is so interesting, and I just, for whatever reason, haven't experienced that on any other platform. There's something about that one, but you're right. Do you see how it's evolved into what it is today and will continue to evolve? Gotta love it. Gotta love
Yeah,
it.
I love it too. I love it too. Okay, so Christina, we're almost at time. I can't believe the time has flown. Okay, so
No way.
yes, the time has flown. Before we wrap up, I know this has been a really great conversation. I know it's going to be helpful to a lot of people, but I want to ask you, what is one belief or truth that you hope that someone listening to this episode can take away from today?
Mm, you can do anything you put your mind to. I firmly believe that. I think that started, and we didn't talk about this today. We won't even get into it too much, but that started, and I'll keep it brief, but in basic training in the Army. Okay. So I
Mhm.
was in Army Reserves. I tore ligaments in the top of my left foot. So I was on crutches. And it was at the end of basic training before we go to AIT. And one of these crutches, PT test is coming up, and Drill Sergeant Savage, shout out to her, said that I was just gonna have to stay behind. I wasn't gonna be able to make it because obviously I wasn't gonna pass the PT test. I'm on crutches. And I was like, "I'm gonna stay here and do what?" Like, I'm in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, AKA Fort Lost in the Woods. And I was like, "Mm-mm," because no. So put the crutches down, pass the PT test. And from then on, firmly believe that whatever I put my mind to, I can absolutely do. And I believe that for others as well. If you want it, you can have it.
I
That's
agree with
all.
that. You
Yeah.
have to believe in yourself. You have to believe you have to see it in your mind's eye before you can actually achieve it. So I agree with that. Okay, and then last thing, what's the most important thing that you've learned or that has helped you navigate this part of your life?
What's helped me? I didn't come that far just to come this far. Tell myself
There
that often.
Yes, there's more to do. Listen, I am in the trenches with you. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it, right? There's a lot of ups and downs that comes with having a business, running a business, building a business, pivoting. You want to talk about pivot? Pivot, that's the main thing that's happening all the time. Be
Mhm.
pivot, being open to pivoting. I know that this is a space that you're in. And I'm sure you're helping a lot of people, a lot of women who are navigating this space. So I'm really excited to see what else you're going to do. So can you tell us if there are any new projects coming up or anything exciting that you're working on? Do you want to
Yes.
share?
Yeah. I'm working on something big, which I believe will be, I would call it a capstone, maybe cornerstone project for my career. Working title is the alignment project. So more to come.
Huh?
It's deeply rooted in not just my experience professionally, but also the experiences of others and the importance of alignment in all things that we do.
I'm excited. So we'll stay tuned for that. And where can we find you? What do you hang out mostly?
Or it's Right, except it's easy. Like
I love bread.
I don't have to create, the graphics and the colors and all this. You can find me on TikTok. I think I've got about like 40,000 followers last I checked there. And that's virtual, the number 6 figure mom. And that's the same across I think, all platforms. So virtual six-figure mom, the number 6.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Christina. And I'll also put all of your social links in the description and make sure that people can find you. I'm very excited that we had this conversation today. I know it's not going to be our last conversation. So, yes.
No, Liz,
Okay. No,
you're
it's
stuck
not.
with me. You're stuck with me, ma'am.
I'm okay with that, though. I'm okay with that. So,
Aw.
I also just want to thank everyone for listening and for tuning in. If you find yourself in the middle of a career pivot or if you need some support with your career tools, job leads, anything related to this space, make sure to connect with Christina. I'll put all of her information in the description. And make sure you share the love and tag a friend who needs to hear this. And I will see you all next time.
Take care.